Let's get this sports podcast party started, all right?
The J Reels Podcast.
Why don't you wait until July 1st to make an announcement? What a disgrace. He can rack up all these numbers in October, November, and December, but what really counts is let me see this in January.
The sports rebel without a pause, delivering fast-paced, jam-packed sports talk like no other.
Listen, I gotta call it as I see it. He is not a good player. I'm sick and tired of having to deal with the disappointment of this franchise. When does it stop? And yes, another winter that I can sleep in peace. Coming correct, directed in full effect. Let's get it.
This is the J Reels Podcast. Welcome aboard.
What is happening, my good people? Greetings. How are you? How's it going? How's everybody doing out there? What is the latest and greatest? Hope everybody's doing well, feeling fantastic, in excellent spirits as we approach the middle of July and it's getting hotter and hotter by the day. Well, guess what? The temperature will even go higher, especially over the next hour or so as you listen to all that's going on in the world of sports, as this is the J Reels Podcast with Joe's J Reels. For my first timers, welcome aboard. And for those who've been banging with me going back to the very beginning, somewhere in the middle or even as early as this past Thursday, I welcome you guys and gals back to kick off another week, and it feels good to be back. It's weird. If I could indulge you for a moment, this past weekend I spent it with family, went down to see my father, my brother, stepmother, sister down in South Jersey, and that was Thursday afternoon after I did the podcast, got back Saturday night, and obviously a lot transpired in sports over that time frame, but for whatever reason, it almost feels like a week since I've been here, or at least been in front of this microphone and camera. And although I wanted to do a live stream over the weekend, but just being present with the family, and even though I went on a couple of runs in the morning to start my day, and just trying to be locked in with them and not, let's say, go for a walk after that and get on a live for about an hour or so. For those out there who are wondering, Jay Reels, what happened to that live? My apologies. Again, just trying to stay in the moment with family and not, I don't want to say be distracted because you know I love to pop on, but unless there was something that was important or something that was urgent going on in the sports world where I had to come on board. But here I am now, ready to get at it, ready to get cracking, and obviously a lot to unfold and unpack here. And I want to start off, now that we're into the final week of the World Cup, where we are down to its final 3 games. And I'm sure as you've listened over the last few weeks, I've been wrapped up in it. I talked about it there last Wednesday during the live stream and, of course, Thursday as well. And from the last time we spoke, we had the 4 games that took place over the weekend. But to me, the 2 games that really stick out are the games that were on Saturday. Now, mind you, Thursday, I was driving down to South Jersey, so I did hear France winning, and to me, it was rather easy. I understand they got both of those goals there at the start of the second half with Mbappe and, of course, Dembele, where France, no sweat, no ifs, ands, buts, babies about it, as they went on and beat Morocco. And Morocco, as we all know, they didn't really have a shot. I get it that they faced off against them in a semifinal 4 years ago, but certainly do not have the pieces to stack up against that French team. And then on Friday, you had Spain and Belgium, which I know went down to the wire. And as we've seen with a lot of these World Cup matches, whether it's literally right before the stoppage time or even into the extra time, and Spain prevailed yet again to where the young wonder kid, Lamine Yamal, came out and said, Yamal, let me see if I get that pronounced correctly, came out and said that France should fear us. And I'll get into that a little bit later as I'll give you a little preview of the 2 games tomorrow and Wednesday. But I had a feeling that Spain was going to win. I thought it was going to be close. I thought Belgium was going to hang tight. And again, that was a game I didn't see. It was Friday. It was in the middle of the day, hanging with family, etc. So I don't have a great feel. But the other 2 games, I have a much better feel, which to me was the controversy of the weekend. And I understand there's going to be a lot of people out there, and I'll get to the second game later with Argentina, but I get it. There's a lot of people that are thinking, oh, FIFA has it set up for Argentina to get to not only a semifinal, but to win the whole thing again. I'll pump the brakes on that for a moment. The first game with England and Norway, and I was driving back from South Jersey, heard the second half. I know the game at that time was tied at 1, and we know about the controversy regarding the goal that was scored by Jude Bellingham, where the ball from the goalkeeper looked like it hit the cable wire from the sky cam, fell to the Hard Rock Stadium turf to where England had that opportunity to score to tie the game. And when you had the coach and the goalkeeper pointing up toward the cable and everybody was exasperated on the Norway side, and I got news for you. Watching some of these replays, I couldn't tell. Now, maybe I need to see more replays. I try to get as much as I can from a perspective of where the ball may have deflected or may have been redirected. And the thing was that they even had a spotlight on the ball where it was starting to fall, but you didn't really see a big, and I understand if it grazed, that's all it takes. But as we know with the chip and the soccer ball, they detected that there was no movement of the ball in any way, shape, or form in order for them to give that a dead spot ball. I was going to say dead spot foul, a dead ball to where they would have to replay it or restart play from that point on. And I'm sorry. Again, unless somebody wants to send me a better view or a more evident clip of the ball that was deflected, then I want to see it. But to me, was unable to see it. And then as we know, as we get into the rest of the game, and there were, of course, opportunities back and forth. But now as we get from the stoppage time to the extra time, and that's all it took for Jude Bellingham, again, to be Johnny on the spot, to get the goal in the first part of the extra time. And then here's the thing. When you don't have your best player in Erling Haaland, who didn't play the second half of the extra time, I don't want to say it was curtains for them, but you got to wonder whether or not that the team psychologically going into the half, knowing that that goal counted, and for Norway to, I don't want to say they hung their heads, but you have to wonder if it actually played a little bit of a mind game with them, because in the second half, although they had a couple of chances, maybe more than a couple of chances, but they were unable to capitalize. And then once Bellingham scored that goal, you kind of wonder if all the wind was out of their sails. And then knowing that Haaland was going to be out in the final 15 minutes, that's when you knew it was going to be curtains for the Norwegian team. And as far as England goes, I mean, what could you say? England's had a great ride here. We know about the Bellingham goals. We know about, obviously, Harry Kane, a guy who is looking to get their country back to the mountaintop. As we all know, it's been 60 years since they last won. And now they're going to go up against an Argentinian team, which now I could get to the nightcap. And this game, as I got home and trying to scramble around to watch, and I know right out of the gate, Argentina got the first goal there. What, it was about 9 minutes in. You thought, oh, this game's going to be probably 3-0, maybe 3-1, etc. But give it up. Swiss played well and fought hard. But now here's the other controversy that we could talk about, and then get to the bigger picture about the conspiracy theories about, oh, FIFA wants Argentina to get there, and so on and so forth. You had the scenario where Brielle Embolo, who earlier in the match got a yellow card, and then here, who obviously had made contact, or the Argentinian player made contact with him, no call was made, and then, let's face it, sold a dive to try to attract a call, where at first the yellow card was brought up against the Argentinian player, but then upon the VAR, as you know, when they do this to get to the monitor, and it was evident that Embolo embellished that trip, and he wasn't even touched when you look at it. And I have to say, there's no controversy whatsoever. In fact, Embolo should have known better, knowing that he had a yellow card, that I get he's trying to sell a call, but there was no contact there. So to me, I'm not going to look at the big picture and say, oh, Argentina gets another call. It's almost as if they're the Kansas City Chiefs of getting all the flags and all the personal fouls, etc., as obvious and even as ironic as the game was being played at Arrowhead. And good morning to everybody jumping on board here in the room. The Novice, Cole, a.k.a. J-Rod. I appreciate you stopping by, saying hello. But as this game unfolded, and I get it, that to have Embolo out, they're short another player. The Swiss, as it was, were a big underdog going into this game, and they did tie the game. So you thought to yourself, all right, but you just a matter of time. You had to wait and see in order for Argentina to finally get to a point where you knew they were going to break through. And even though being short a man and Swiss hanging in there as much as they possibly could, and I don't want to hear about calls. I get it even in the game prior against Egypt where there should have been a foul called on Argentina prior to them scoring the go-ahead goal, and the same earlier where Egypt got that first goal. I believe it was the second goal, but that was also disallowed. And unfortunately for Egypt, and we talked about there on Thursday's podcast, but to me, that was a no-brainer. They had to make that call. That was a red card. And one more time, similar to any other sport, how about the NFL? If you get a personal foul, the first go around, your second personal foul, you're out of the game. So if I'm a defensive player and I'm going to spear somebody, now maybe they'll throw them out if it looked intentional, but let's just say if I got a pass on the first hit to where, all right, you've been warned, you mean to tell me I'm going to go ahead and barrel into that guy later on, or barrel into a tight end, a wide receiver, a running back later on in the game, knowing that I already had a warning for a personal foul earlier in the game, or in this case, earlier in the match? I'm not going to do that. So Mbolo, I don't know what he was doing there. I get he was trying to sell a call to maybe get an opportunity for them to be at an advantage, but that was, I mean, please. And as we know, with a ton of these soccer players, I mean, you breathe on them and you figure that, you know, they got stabbed or shot. Kind of hate to use that terminology, but you understand where I'm coming from. And even Mbolo, who, again, when he tripped his own self and he rolled out of bounds. I mean, come on, what are we doing here? So to me, no controversy. And Argentina gets that goal on a beautiful corner kick there from Messi, and the header goes in, and then they tack on another goal after that, and that was it. And now Argentina is going to go up against England there in the other semifinal, where tomorrow you're going to have Spain and France, and we'll get to Spain and France first, and then we'll go in order. But when you have a situation where your young 18-year-old player, and I understand the guy's going to be a star for all the reports that we've seen, read, etc. That, again, Lamine Yamal. And I get it that the Spain team has beaten them in the last 2 years in Euro play, and obviously I am not far from even a novice, let alone an expert, to break that down or to say that I watched or followed, etc. No, but it seems to me, based on his comments, that Spain has France's number. So therefore, he came out and said that France should fear us. All right, maybe based on the last couple of years, okay, fine. And I don't know if you're Spain, do you feel, I don't want to say comfortable, but when you look at the other side of the room and you see your 18-year-old youngster come out and make a comment like that, do you kind of roll your eyes? Do you shudder? Do you tell the kid, hey, all right, that's your only comment. After that, we don't want to hear anything leading up to the game, because we all know France is trying to get back to a final to see if they can win. So if I was his teammate, especially one that's been around the World Cup and have not won a World Cup, I believe what they win, 2010. So now you're going on 16 years. So if I'm his teammate, I'd say, pipe down there, my guy. Do not say anything else leading up to this game, because I'm sure once they're on the field, and I get it, this isn't the NBA or even the NFL where they may be trash talking going back and forth, but who knows? I'm sure they're going to want to try to get at the kid, or maybe pick on him to a lesser degree, to see whether or not that they can expose him, or let's see if Yamal is going to put his money where his mouth is in order for him to try to get to a World Cup final and really show France that, yeah, not only are you going to be fearful of us, but you're going to be fearful of me, even a kid that's as young and brash and bold as Yamal. But how I look at this game, listen, this could be a classic. I mean, you look at both of these matchups. Now, I think Spain and France is a little bit closer, those two teams, than I think England and Argentina. And not by much with England and Argentina. Now, Argentina, I would think, would be a solid favorite, where I would think France would probably be a slight favorite against Spain. I haven't checked the odds to see whether or not that's the case. But France, here's the one thing I would fear about them going into this game. France is pretty much played from in front the whole tournament. They haven't had that nail biter. I have to go back and think, but obviously of recent vintage, they have not had a game where they really had to sweat out. Not a situation where they are trailing early, I mean, look at Argentina. They were down 2-0 to Egypt. You want to talk about the calls, the non-calls, etc.? Fine. But they had to come back and win that game. So they showed their toughness. They showed their mettle in rallying the troops to come back. And to me, how I look at this is it's almost similar to the NCAA tournament. When you have a team in the first couple of rounds, or let's say even going into a regional semifinal, regional final, that it just breezed through the tournament. And now that this is the Final Four, you have to wonder whether or not they haven't had that white knuckler, nail biter type of game to where they've been battle tested. Now, we know France is superior. We know that they're a top team, etc. But because, and I'm not going to say they've had an easy route, but because they've had the fortunes of being in front and being dominant, going up against Spain, what happens if they're down 1-0 early? Or let's say it's 2-1 going in late in the second half. And I understand you have the stoppage time and extra time if it's tied, etc. I get that. And we've seen France 4 years ago down 3-0 against Argentina, come back to tie before losing out on penalty kicks in the final. But you would have to think, have the French team give themselves something to think about. Give them a little doubt. Give them a little inkling of, oh, wait a minute. Now the pressure's on. We're going to have to force the issue. Maybe they're a little tight. Who knows? But I think all in all, France will prevail. Now, I'm not going to say by penalty kicks, whatever. But it's going to be a close match. I mean, this isn't going to be 4-2 or 3-1. I'd be surprised. And I'm sure a lot of soccer fans would be surprised if that's the case. So I think France will prevail. And as you know, I picked them in the beginning of the tournament to go ahead and win the World Cup. So listen, not that I have any shekels down on them or I have a horse in the race, for lack of a better term. So let's see. That game's going to be fascinating tomorrow, 3:00. That is in Dallas, Jerry's World. So that'll be game number 1. And then the game number 2 on Wednesday, which will be in Atlanta, down at Mercedes-Benz. Listen, Argentina has all of the mojo. And we could also say the same for England, too. I mean, think about it. The game against Mexico last Sunday was a classic. This game here in beating Norway, another big-time performance there, especially by Bellingham, like I mentioned. And knowing that they have the momentum and want to win their first World Cup in 60 years. Now, mind you, this is going to be a tall order. And to think, if England does win the whole thing, they're going to earn it, considering that these are the best 4 teams standing. I understand you could probably say, well, maybe Portugal should be here or even Brazil for that matter, or people would love to see Norway there with Holland. I get it. But England has showed their own grit and determination and even willing themselves to victory there on Saturday. And listen, I'm going to root hard for England. I'm not one of those, Argentina conspiracy theory. Listen, they're an excellent team. Nobody's going to doubt the defending champs. But I would like to see England for at least one more game to push themselves to a final. So at the end, they could sing Oasis's Wonderwall and everybody could gather around and serenade that tune if they do happen to come out on top, as you saw there on Saturday against Norway. And pretty much that's been their theme throughout the course of this World Cup. Again, and I think if England wins, it probably could come down to penalty kicks. I don't know if it's going to be a situation where they're going to win outright. And what I mean by outright, in regulation and in stoppage time, you may get some extra time in there, similar to what we saw there against Norway. But I'm going to root for them. And I'm going to pick them to win. Listen, we could go chalk all, it's going to be Argentina and France. It's easy. I mean, that's the layup when it comes to this. Same with the tournament where people are going to pick 3 1 seeds and a 2 to get to a Final Four, or they're going to pick all 4 1 seeds. I mean, what fun is that? So, you know what? I'm going to be a little bit different. I think England, with their momentum, and I understand Argentina, listen, they're a monster. And they've shown their own resilience and toughness and grit coming from behind and winning these games the way they did. So, and you can't knock them. But let's see if the English contingent is going to fully represent, because you know Argentina will. I mean, that game might as well have been played in Buenos Aires there Saturday night against Switzerland. You saw all the powder blue and white jerseys and the crowd chanting and everything. Understood. But we shall see. It's going to be fascinating. And the good thing is, when we get to Thursday's podcast, we will certainly capture it all and review it and preview the final game. And in fact, on Wednesday's live stream, 12 noon Eastern right here on the channel, we will even talk about Spain and France, and that's going to be tricky for me too. I'm going to try to be locked in as much as I possibly can. Tomorrow I'm getting together with my grandson. It's going to be 95 degrees. We're going to have a pool day. I'm going to have to check it out on my phone. Again, got to be in the moment, present, etc. But Wednesday for sure, England-Argentina will get my full focus, considering that it'll be right after the live stream, or even if it goes right up until 3 o'clock, I'll make sure to sign off at that time, watch the game, and have a full analysis there come Thursday on the podcast. Cheers for those out there as I'm drinking H2O. So that's what you got with the soccer. And let me see, any comments here? All right, Cole, I'm sure he's long gone. I hope he has a wonderful day as well. As you see there, if you're watching, I got the comments there, and I figured didn't post them before, but I figured I'm going to start now. I want to try to tweak the viewing process for those out there. And also for those who are watching on their phones, I know they're going to get the widescreen. You're not getting the portrait mode. I know with Instagram, it was a portrait mode, and I took that setting off because for whatever the reason, it seemed like my numbers were going through the roof, but I don't know if they were skewed. I don't know, whatever. But anyway, I wanted to get some true exact numbers when it comes to watching it live and getting views. So that's why I'm trying to implement some different elements here with the live stream as we move it along. All right, so that's number one. All right, now I'm going to turn my attention. I want to talk baseball. I'm going to get to Wimbledon. I'm going to get to Conor McGregor and maybe a couple other things before I get to other people's comments for those who start popping in the room as we move it along. Now, baseball, I know on Thursday I talked about a couple of teams heading into the weekend that I wanted to pay attention to, and I will get to that. But now that we're at the All-Star break, and I'll go through some wild card scenarios, and just to give you an overview here over the next couple of podcasts, and maybe even for the live stream as well. Now, if everybody knows or have watched, I'm not an All-Star game guy. Once upon a time I was. Mark Salmon's in the house, shows up. Welcome. Over the last 20-some-odd years, the All-Star game, I haven't had the same fervor, the same passion, the same feel for it that I did when I was a kid. I talked about this, I believe, on Thursday's podcast, to where the All-Star game as a kid back in the 70s, 80s, and into an adult in the 90s was fantastic. Loved it. But now it's almost unbearable to watch. The game is just slow. Now, I understand it's slow in the sense where there's no offense. People are hacking at the first pitch. The games are 5-2, 5-1, 4-1. They're low scoring. And not to say the low-scoring games are bad, but not a lot of juice. And I understand the home run derbies tonight. It's in Philadelphia. It's a bandbox, as we know. I couldn't even tell you, other than Ben Rice. Who's the other guy that's... I couldn't even... listen. Even if I pick these guys out of a hat, let me see. Home run derby. What do I got? 6 contestants? All right. Oh, look at that. I didn't realize Harper was going to be on it. Oh, good for them. Obviously, you got 2 hometown guys, Harper and Schwarber. Junior Caminero, who's Tampa Power. Jack Caglianone from the Royals. Wilson Contreras. Munetaka Murakami. I know he didn't have the hamstring injury. I know he's on the mend, but he's going to be a part of it, which I did remember that he was going to be in the mix, but with the injury, I didn't know. And then Jordan Walker. So you do have some star power there. You have young players that you haven't seen. I'm sure a lot of people maybe have not seen in Jordan Walker and Ben Rice. Obviously, I get a good close-up look at him considering he plays 5 miles from where I sit. And then you have Caminero's a young star. Caglianone is going to be a star, you would think. And Schwarber and Harper are mainstays, obviously, with the hometown Phillies. Remember, Harper in 18 at the All-Star game in Washington, did he not win the home run derby that year? Or maybe he got into a semifinal, I don't remember. But am I going to watch this? Maybe I'll tune into it. Now, it's on Netflix, so it's going to be a horse and pony act because they're going to bring in celebrities. They're going to bring in actors. They're going to bring in probably NFL players. I'm sure they're going to pump the Netflix game. I don't even know. What is the Netflix game for the NFL season? I mean, the opener is NBC. Does Netflix have the Rams and Niners in Australia? I don't think they do. But anyway, it's going to be, I think, just a riot. So maybe I'll tune in to watch a little bit of that. And then the game tomorrow, which I believe is on Fox. Listen, maybe for a moment or two, I'll check in, but there isn't going to really be much to unpack there when it comes to an all-star game, unless you get a high-scoring game and it just so happens to be a home run derby of sorts in the game itself. But now that we're at the break, and here's what we got when we take a look. And 2 weeks ago, if you didn't watch, you could go back and to the archives to check. But this isn't going to be a first half, second half thing. I know when we get to Thursday's podcast, I'll give you a bit of an overview of what I could foresee in the last 65 to 70 games, depending on, maybe not even that, 65 to 68 games. A lot of teams have played anywhere between 95 to 98 games on the schedule as it is. So then on Thursday, I will look into my crystal ball. And of course, with the trade deadline, which is about 3.5 weeks away, we'll take a look at that. Or maybe, let me think about that. That may be 3 weeks from today. Yeah, as a matter of fact, it's 3 weeks from today, because July 31st is on a Friday. Then you got Saturday the 1st, Sunday the 2nd, and August 3rd is Monday. So obviously, as we get closer, we'll see what's going to transpire as far as deals that are going to be made throughout Major League Baseball. But what I want to get at here, and yes, I talked about the two teams coming into the weekend, and interestingly enough, the Yankees, who had a tremendous weekend, and the Marlins did not. Because the reason why I chose those two teams were, and I'll start with the Yankees, they were going into an afternoon game against the Rays where they had lost 2 out of 3 to Tampa, going into that final game against the Rays, and would have lost 2 games in the standings. If they would have lost that game, they would have lost 3 out of 4 for that series. And think about it, they actually saved their bacon, because if they would have lost that series finale, they would have already lost 7 times to the Rays, which means that any tiebreaker at the end of the year, it would go to the Rays if they would have won that game. But now they put that on pause, considering that the Rays now lead the season series, if I do my math correctly, 6-3, with 4 more games to go in Yankee Stadium, the next to last series of the regular season. So all the Rays have to do is win one of those games. Now, let's see where we are at the standings. So who knows? Maybe they could be in a flat-footed tie. Maybe it's a scenario where the Rays, currently right now, they're 3 games ahead in the standings and 4 in the loss. So depending on where they're at, if the Yankees are ahead, even if the Rays win one game, yes, they'll have the season series record. But if the Yankees are a game or 2 ahead of them, especially that late in the year, it's not going to matter. But as it is, just to kind of keep that in your mental Rolodex as we get through the rest of the season and obviously to the end of September. But the Yankees not only win that finale in Tampa, and it was a rocking chair game. What was it, 11-4? But now they go to the nation's capital against a national team that's improved and has played better this year, even though with a lot of young pieces on their team. But what did they do? Not only did they sweep the Nationals, but they swept all 3 games, trailing going into the 8th inning. So if that's not a recipe for success, or a recipe for, dare I even say, turning your season around. And again, the Nationals aren't world beaters, but they're certainly not bottom feeders either. But doing that on the road, and I'm sure a lot of Yankee fans, I didn't watch any of the games, but I'm sure a lot of Yankee fans came down the I-95 Northeast corridor to get themselves away from New York to maybe catch the Yankees down there, as I'm sure there was a huge Yankee contingent down there. And for them to win, including Jazz Chisholm with big home runs there late and key hits, Trent Grisham, you name it, to where they avoided getting swept, knowing that they trailed going into the 8th. I think one of the games they trailed into the 9th inning. I think that was the Friday game. So look at what the Yankees did, and that is a momentum builder if you ask me, because think about this. Coming out of the break, who do they play? The Dodgers come to town. I also mentioned the Pirates and the Phillies, who they're going to play afterwards. Pirates at home, Phillies on the road. as I'm over here watching my dog. I think for those listening on Apple or Spotify, you're probably wondering, hey, what the hell is Jay Reels doing? Especially if you're watching on YouTube. But anyway, I'm just keeping an eye on her, making sure that she gets to the pad. But anyway, I digress. But for the Yankees to win those games, and they still have, remember, they got Philly, they still have Atlanta to play in their building, though. But that is a tremendous 4 games that they had. And who knows? I'm sure they wish they had a series tonight, knowing that with the All-Star break, they're going to have to take some time off and they got to pick up where they left off against the 2-time defending champs. So let's see how they react. And I'm sure that's going to be a big crowd. I'm sure a lot of people from the West Coast. And I remember 2 years ago, there were a lot of Dodger fans when they invaded the Bronx on a weekend. That was in early June. Well, now here it's going to be mid-July. The weather's going to be hot. It's going to be electric. It's going to definitely have a World Series feel. Let's see if the Yankees are going to step up, continue their success here at the end of this first half, quote unquote, and see if they can extend their winning streak. So that's why I thought that was a big weekend for them. And as you saw, that was the case. And as for the Marlins, they won their final game against Seattle. They were riding high. And then the Guardians come in. Guardians, as you know, battling it out with the White Sox. And although close games, but the Guardians went in there and swept the Marlins. And the Marlins were tied with the Phillies there. There she is. Tied with the Phillies for second place in the NL East. And now they fall 2 games back with or 1 game back, I should say. Let me double check that in the standings. No, they actually fall 2 games back as the Phillies did win 2 out of 3 in Detroit where the Marlins got swept. So they go into the break stumbling a little bit. And I thought even with the Guardians coming in and with them riding high, and they were at the time 9 games over 500 and made it 10 that evening. And now they're 7 over, but still in the thick of things. And obviously in the wild card mix, which I'll get to momentarily. But that was I'll say a lost weekend for them considering how hot they were. And they won a bunch of series. That was the first series they lost in forever. So let's see if that's going to hurt the young Marlin team as they come out of the break. And we'll talk about the schedule and who the teams play as we start the quote-unquote second half then. But baseball overall, a couple of surprises over the weekend. The first one being the Dodgers, where the Diamondbacks went into LA and not only swept the Dodgers, but they actually beat them up pretty good. Now, I don't know. Maybe the Dodgers had to pedal off the metal knowing that they had an enormous lead in the NL West. They were looking forward to the break. They said, the hell with this. I understand the break doesn't really start until the last pitch there on Sunday late afternoon, early evening here, East Coast time. But who knows? Maybe they're on an early vacation at that point. But no harm, no foul. Even with the sweep, how I look at it is that the Dodgers with that 11.5 game lead, they're going to cruise to a division title and probably have, at worst, a second seed in the NL. They're probably going to have the best record in the league. And right now, they have the best record in the sport at 61-36. So, but that was a bit of a surprise there when you look at it from them getting swept by the Diamondbacks, and the Diamondbacks trying to stay in the thick of things when it comes to the wild card as well, as they're now 2 games over 500 and have leapfrogged over the Padres. And then the other surprise was the Pirates sweeping the Brewers. Now, this was a case where the Brewers were in Pittsburgh, where Arizona was at LA. So for the Brewers, and maybe they also had a little bit of, let's get an early start to our All-Star break, knowing that they had their sights set on maybe Cancun for a few days, or who knows if they were even thinking, considering that Milwaukee, Midwest, maybe we're going to go to the Bahamas, who knows. But for the Brewers, and listen, they've had a tremendous first half too, considering what happened last year. They had a big year last year, best record in the National League. Actually, they had the best record in the sport, and we saw what happened with them. But listen, no harm, no foul, even after getting swept by the Pirates. Here they are, 59-37 with the second best record in the National League. So right now, your top 2 in the NL, Dodgers, Brewers, with the Braves third. And right now, on the outside looking in, if they had any shot to try to get to a scenario where they could get that 2 seed and obviously play in the division series as opposed to playing a wild card. Obviously, we still have 2.5 months to go before we can find out for sure who's going to be aligned in the National and American League when it comes to the playoffs. And then in the American League right now, you have the Rays with the best record. Yankees, as I mentioned, 4 back in the loss, but 3 as far as games behind. White Sox and Guardians are neck and neck. And as the Guardians, as I mentioned, they had that sweep against the Marlins. And then the White Sox took care of the Athletics. And the Athletics, although they're in the wild card mix, and I'll break it down, but I think that team, with them being 14 under, and to think they're still in the wild card mix, which is crazy, but I will get to it. Bear with me for a sec. Twins are hanging around there too. I understand a game under 500, although they're 3 back, but they're still within earshot of the Central, so I'll give them a little bit of kudos there because there's not a lot of separation between White Sox Guardians as it is. They're in a flat-footed tie, although the White Sox do have 2 games in hand over the Guardians. And then in the West, now Texas is leapfrogged over Seattle. They can't seem to find their way, and Seattle's been a major disappointment. I don't know what else to say. Listen, they got swept by the Marlins, as you know, over the weekend here. They lost 2 out of 3 to Tampa. And they did salvage yesterday, and I believe didn't yesterday, they won in a blowout fashion in 1-8-2. So they go into the break stumbling, bumbling, fumbling. And with the Astros right behind them, and we know the Astros, a far cry from what we saw there in the latter part of the previous decade, and obviously from the first 5 years of this one. But that's what you have in baseball in a big, giant nutshell. And as far as the wild card is concerned, it's going to be more fascinating in the American League than it is in the National League. And I'll explain why. In the American League, because it is so underwhelming. Remember about 6 weeks ago, I talked about how you had 2 teams that were 500 or better, and that was Yankees, Rays, and all the other teams were either at 500 or even below for that matter. Well, here's your case in point with the Athletics. Think about this. Their record is 41-55. They're in a tailspin. They've lost 9 straight, going nowhere fast. But when they wake up this morning, their manager, Mark Kotsay, can look at the schedule and look at the standings and say, well, you know what? We are 6 in the loss and 6.5 back of the final wildcard spot. Now, to me, do you have to throw them in there? I guess. Because anything can happen. And as we said, Seattle, we would expect for them to take off like they did last year and even the previous year for that matter. But when are they going to fire on all cylinders? When are they going to take off? And the Twins are right behind them. They're actually tied for the last wildcard spot. Does anybody think that the Twins are going to make it to the postseason when it's all said and done? I don't think so. Now, the one team that I haven't discussed, and I probably should have led with them, are the Red Sox. Now, here's a Red Sox team that is underachieved big time. We know that their offense is from hunger. We know that their pitching has been better, obviously, of late, but overall hasn't been what we thought would be the linchpin of this team. Well, after sweeping the Angels, sweeping the White Sox, but hear this. They were supposed to fly to New York after winning in Chicago there Thursday night. They had a malfunction on their aircraft, so where they had to check themselves back into a hotel to leave Friday morning to get to New York. And then they still had plane malfunctions to the point where they had to hang around the tarmac. They were waiting to take off. They believed they didn't take off till about, 3-something local time. They didn't arrive into, I would assume, LaGuardia, because it's literally a stone's throw from Citi Field, until sometime after 5, or maybe not after 2 with the hour behind. And then they had to postpone the start time of the game till 7:50 p.m. when it was originally a 7:10 start. And then what happened? The Red Sox beat the brakes off of the Mets to where they beat them 6-2, 4-0. And then yesterday, where they looked like the Mets were going to at least salvage the series, they led 2-0 going to the 9th inning. They ruined Zach Thornton's start where he pitched 7 scoreless innings. And then what happens? It looked like he had a double play ball to end the game. Lindor boots it at second. He said the ball ate him up. And all right, it's a play you should have made. I don't care who you are. And he is Francisco Lindor, who's had a nightmare of a season. Obviously hurt, but it's been awful. And then they go ahead and tie the game in the 9th. They win the game in the 10th, and they sweep the Mets. So now they've won 9 straight, and they're a half game behind the wild card. And right now, I would have to think, I don't want to base it all on this 9-game winning streak, but maybe their equilibrium is back to the point where I would think they're going to make some moves here before the deadline, try to bring in a batter or two to their lineup, and then who knows? Maybe they take off and they're going to be a part of the wild card mix before it's all said and done. And listen, I gave you a little bit of a crystal ball there when we looked at Thursday's podcast, so I gave you a little bit of a teaser heading into that. So with them, Astros, Baltimore, Toronto, Detroit, and then the Athletics, all separated by 6.5 games. And when you think about it, the Tigers, who are 8 under, they are 3 in the loss behind the final playoff spot. So that's why the American League is a little bit more fascinating, and you have good teams there. Toronto, the defending AL champ. Baltimore, I know their pitching isn't great, but they do have a decent lineup. The Astros, you want to base it on their pedigree, all right, fine. Red Sox, okay. Mariners, their recent history, fine. Guardians, okay. And the Guardians are 3 up on the Mariners, just so you know, so there is some separation there. Tigers have been in the playoffs the last 2 years. So, yeah, you have some good teams. As far as the National League goes, you have Cubs, a half game ahead of the Phillies, who are 2 ahead of the Marlins. Then after that, if you ask me, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams in the mix. I'm not going to include the Reds. They're 8 back. Nats are 4 back, 4 in the loss. They're a game under 500 after getting swept, but I have to include them considering that they're 4 games back. And to think, the 2 teams that are ahead of them, especially that currently sit in the wild card, are teams in their own division. And I'm sure they have 100 games against them the rest of the way in Philadelphia and Miami. Then you have Cardinals, Pirates, Arizona, San Diego, Washington in between. And I get it. Those teams aren't relatively sexy. All right? You want to say San Diego because they've been in the postseason over the last few years? I'll give you that. Arizona, okay, they went to a World Series 3 years ago. All right. I'll give you that. St. Louis, I understand their pedigree, but the last few years have not been anywhere near of the Cardinal teams that we've seen dating back to the previous decade and beyond. The Pirates are the Pirates. Listen, there would be new blood, fresh blood if they make it to the postseason, and they did make it to the playoffs, albeit a decade ago, but still, it's not as if they haven't been to the playoffs since they last won a World Series back in 1979. So you have that working for you. And then the Nationals, I get it, they won a World Series in 2019, but they're a far cry from that team. There's no Anthony Rendon, there's no Steven Strasburg, Max Scherzer, Juan Soto, etc. So a little bit more heft in the American League, at least right now, than the National League, although you do have something. But we'll talk more about that come Wednesday, or excuse me, we'll come Thursday. We'll touch on it a little bit Wednesday, but really for Thursday's podcast, we'll take a look and see what teams could jockey for position, what teams could make some moves, which teams that you think are going to go all in or back out, buyers, sellers, etc. And one thing I just want to throw in there, because you know there's going to be no Met talk from here on out, barring anything Steve Cohen or David Stern says or trades. But the reason why I'm bringing up this is because of Francisco Lindor. There's been a lot of rumors and rumblings about him. Fans think that maybe it should be time to trade him. Now, remember, he has a no trade in his contract, so he's going to have to agree to a trade. So that means he's going to have to go to a place where they have a chance to win. So it's not as if he's going to go to Colorado and get prospects back. That's not happening. But as a Met fan, as you well know, lifelong, etc., am I going to say it's time? And I'm not going to attribute it all on the error yesterday. And he's had a bunch of these brain locks, brain cramps, whatever you want to call it, going back from the start of the year. I understand he was out for 2 months with the calf injury. And since he's been back, it's pretty much been the same theme. And we can talk about all the Lindor Soto nonsense. And I'm sure that they are maybe not even amicable. I know a couple of weeks ago, there was a shot of them in the dugout talking. Seemed to be fine. Didn't seem to be any cold shoulders or any frozen vibes from star to star. But I'm at the point where if you could get a decent haul, and when I mean decent, you're going to have to take a bad contract back. And if not, you're going to have to eat a lot of that money, because the whole point of taking a bad contract means that you're not going to have to eat up a lot of that money, because you're going to also get back a bad contract. Let's just say Fernando Tatis Jr. And not that that's the rumor or anything, but that's just the example. But if you're going to get prospects back and high-level prospects, they're going to have to eat a lot of that money. That's all there is to it. Because if you're going to get low-level prospects and you're going to have the other team eat up a lot of that money, I mean, come on. You're not going to have the best of both worlds. Like, oh, we're going to trade a star player who, let's face it, right now is probably he's probably at hole 16 as far as his prime is concerned. That's not to say he's going to have terrible years from here on out. That's not to say it's going to be a precipitous fall off. I'm sure he's going to have productive years, but when we get to year 34, 35, 36, and so on, yeah, you're not going to get the MVP Lindor of 2 years ago or the MVP candidate of Lindor that you did 2 years ago in year, 7, 8, 9, 10 of that contract. And right now he's currently in year 5 of that. So, again, whatever is out there, and listen, you don't give him up in a Jaylen Brown type deal because there would be no rush to trade him. Obviously, his stock is low. He's been awful, but I would think maybe there's a GM out there who's going to look to think that he probably wants out considering the dynamic between he and Soto, if that is true, on top of just him not being mentally there, that maybe a change of scenery is going to help for Lindor to reinvigorate his play, his attitude, etc. That could be it. Because the egos are involved here where Soto comes in, he's getting the big bucks and the bigger bucks, I should say. It's not as if, let's face it, Francisco Lindor is not crime poverty. Let's call it as we see it. But obviously with the whole captaincy and Steve Cohen, I'll let them hash it out themselves. I don't want any captains. I mean, come on. And that's another thing I get on Steve Cohen for, but not at this time. And I may have said that once upon a time. But maybe that's soured on Lindor, where he felt like he was the face of this franchise. We saw what he did in 2024 after beating Milwaukee and getting everybody on the field and pointing and doing this and leading by example. And now that's been pulled away from him. Maybe that has been a hit to his ego. And I understand you got to check that at the door, but what are you going to do? Players are going to be sensitive. Players are going to react how they react. They're not going to all buy in, whatever. So I'm bringing that up now because in case if there's any rumblings, I'm sure you're going to hear a lot throughout the course of the All-Star week, which teams could be involved, so on and so forth, et cetera. So that's what you got with the baseball. I know he had the draft the other day, the kid, Rock Cholowski, the first-round pick shortstop there by the White Sox. I didn't really follow it closely. I know the Mets got this kid. What's his name? Wiggins. Chase Wiggins, I think is his name. I don't know if I'm butchering his name. I'm not that I'm butchering it, but let's see. The Met first-round pick. Just so I could be correct here. Mets number 1 pick. And who knows if he's even going to be on the team. As you know, the Mets just trade their number 1 picks, the Pete Crow Armstrongs, the likes of other players who have been jettisoned here. Mets number 1 pick. So I'm trying to do this live. So for those who are watching or listening, no, we're not going back to 1966. It's Stephen Chilcott. Yeah, does anybody know? That's a trivia question. Stephen Chilcott was the Met number 1 pick, if I digress for a second. He was the number 1 pick that year as a catcher who turned out to be nothing. Can anybody name who was the number 2 pick that year in the draft? Anybody? Somebody? Jet Williams was another one, number 1 pick. Yep, traded. Kumar Rocker, who they drafted but did not sign. Jared Kelenic is a number 1 pick who turned out to be nothing. Let's face it. Justin Dunn. A lot of these number 1 picks. All right, if you don't know the answer, and if your bio, my guy who's in the chat room, I'm sure he probably typed it up and sent it already. It's none other than Reginald Martinez Jackson, more famously known as Mr. October or by his government name, Reggie Jackson, which I did say his government name, Reginald Martinez Jackson. But anyway, so that's what I got there. Val, welcome. I know you've been in the room for a minute. Home run derby at 7 and not 8 says a lot. Was that right, the novice? I didn't even know that. The novice. Yeah, I'm going to get to that too. The top 10. Waffle Line, welcome. I appreciate you guys. I'm reading Waffle Line's comments. I'll get to your comments afterwards. I promise. I appreciate you guys as always hopping on board, etc. But yeah, that's with the baseball. Now let me break out the tennis racket and go through a little tennis. And let's call it as we see it. Wimbledon ended with a thud, although you had a lot of these matches that had a bunch of tie breaks, including the first set yesterday between Alexander Zverev and Jannik Sinner, which at first I thought, all right, well, Sinner won that first set. Zverev won that first set. And then the second set went to a tie break too. And I said, if somehow, some way, Zverev comes out on top, Sinner may be on the ropes. But then I thought real quick, before Sinner won that second tiebreak set, I said to myself that even if Zverev wins this and goes up 2-love, I could see him losing this match. And I didn't want to put the cart before the horse. I said, I'm not sold on Zverev. And I understand Zverev played excellent throughout this tournament, and we all know he won the French last month. So he has been playing his best tennis probably ever. And even after winning that first set, and I said for that split second when they were going to that tiebreak, I said, oh, man, if he comes out and wins this, would there be any chance of Zverev winning this match? And I said, because I could see Sinner coming back from 2-love and winning it. And as it was, Sinner did win that second set and then went on to win the last two sets, 6-3, 6-4, I think it was, or maybe 6-4, 6-3. Sinner, who was the defending Wimbledon champ, and he even erases what happened at the French. And I understand people will say, well, hey, the French is the French, it's a different tournament, etc. It was hot in London, where he wilted in the French heat there at Roland Garros. But for a guy who's the top-ranked player in the world and left in the second round of the French, and even though I had a bit of a scare in the opening round, but he was just as dominant as Zverev throughout the remainder of Wimbledon, and it showed as he ends up winning his second Wimbledon back-to-back, flying high, and now we just have the one more tournament, which now is going to raise the question, will Carlos Alcaraz, will his wrist, hopefully, will have improved enough for him to partake in the U.S. Open? Now, that tournament is still not, what is it? Off the top of my head, it's 6 weeks away. So there's plenty of time. And remember, we did not see him in Roland Garros, and we did not see him here at Wimbledon. And you also have to remember, he's the defending champ of the U.S. Open. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not he's going to play. Now, there's going to be a few tournaments between now and then. I know the one in Cincinnati, which is usually a week or two before, which is part of that series throughout the World Tennis Association and the tour that I think it's Cincinnati. I believe Toronto. That's another series. And it's the same as if the Indian Wells in California and the Miami Open. It's in that category. So for Alcaraz and his camp, to me, that's going to be the burning question over the next 6 weeks, whether or not he's going to participate and how healthy that wrist is going to be. Because, all right, if he's 100% ready to go, fine. But knowing that he hasn't faced any big-time competition over the last few months, could that injury crop up if he's healthy? So, to me, that's going to be, I think, the biggest tennis question moving forward between now and the start of the U.S. Open there in late August. So, just keep that in mind as we move it along. But excellent job by Sinner as he wins another major and his second straight Wimbledon. And as far as the women's side, now listen, we were on the air when Coco Gauff lost in the 12-10 third set. And listen, that was a tough defeat no matter how you slice it. I talked about it then. It was disappointing. And Karolina Muchova, who beat Gauff, ended up facing Linda Noskova. And Noskova, who beat no, that wasn't Andreeva. It was Marta Kostyuk. And here it was there on Saturday where Kostyuk and Noskova, and let me make sure, I think it was in straight sets, was it not? I believe Noskova, and I want to say this was her first ever Grand Slam final. So she beat Kostyuk in straight sets, and then Muchova, actually, it was in 3 sets, 6-2, 5-7, 6-3. So Noskova, who was the 9th ranked women's player in the world, who actually beat the 10th women's player in the world in Muchova. And for Noskova, what could you say? Great job and a great opportunity for her to rebound after losing that second set. And Noskova, listen, now she's on the map for a player who has won a Grand Slam title. And that can't be said for a lot of these top players that are on the tour. The first one that comes to mind is Jessica Pegula, who has not won a major tournament. We saw Madison Keys win the Australian. We know about Sabalenka, even Osaka, Swiatek, Rybakina. Those are former champs. Anisimova. So, no, Anisimova. Yeah, no, she had one, I believe. Did she beat Wimbledon, if I'm not mistaken? Well, anyway, but now she puts her name amongst the ranks of women's players who have won a Grand Slam. So that's what, yeah. But Wimbledon overall, yeah, it ended with a thud. Not great. It certainly was good, and obviously had a lot of buildup coming into this week. And the one match I didn't talk about was Djokovic and Sinner there on Friday. And I was able to follow it, and I didn't watch point for point because, again, with family over the weekend. But I don't know if that match there on Tuesday where Djokovic won a 5-hour 15 marathon, 5-setter against Felix Auger-Aliassime. But although him having the extra day, it certainly wasn't enough to top Sinner as he lost. I believe it was 6-4, 6-4, 6-4. So he was competitive, but certainly was no match for Sinner. And Sinner, maybe that was a little bit of a revenge considering that he lost to Djokovic in the Australian Open semifinal. That was when Carlos Alcaraz completed his career Grand Slam. So maybe they had that in the back of his memory going into the match there Friday afternoon. And then, of course, with Zverev, I have to give some props to Arthur Ferry, the Brit who was on a magic carpet ride, who lost in straight sets, including a tiebreaker set, I believe, in the first one to Zverev. And for Ferry, who knows if this is going to carry him to Flushing, if there's a situation where maybe now he could be a player that could be at least on the periphery. Not to say he's going to be a guy that is going to be a lock to compete against the Jannik Sinners and even Carlos Alcaraz for that matter. And you got to throw in Zverev. He's ranked 2 in the world for a reason. So I guess we'll keep an eye on him when we get to the U.S. Open. But, yeah, when you look at the way this ended up, straight sets for Sinner against Djokovic, I get a competitive start and almost maybe having Sinner on the ropes in the second set. But after that, a cakewalk. And then the women's, listen, Goff losing, that took a huge hit for the final. Because if you had Goff there, at least you could hang your hat on her, knowing that she obviously is a top-notch player, one that everybody knows, maybe that they could at least watch on a Saturday morning and be, you know what, let me pop in and see what this match is about. But when you have Muchova and Noskova, sorry, that's not going to move the needle. Just isn't. So Wimbledon, again, goes out like a lamb, and we will see with the U.S. Open there at the end of August. And then one last thing before I get to your comments, people, as Mark Salmon's thoughts on Ohtani's a GOAT, maybe never seen a picture like this. Yeah, I'll get to that in a moment there, Mark, I promise. But last thing I want to talk about here, let me just look at any other news and notes pop up in sports here while I've been on. I guess I could segue to that because just as I read here, as I get into the octagon, anybody watch that Conor McGregor, Max Holloway bout Saturday night? Now, I even forgot about it. I didn't talk about it on Thursday's podcast. To me, Conor McGregor, in my eyes, is a washed fighter. I understand he's a name. I get it. He's got a pedigree. He's got pizzazz. He's got personality. He's got all the things that you look for in an MMA fighter. But the one thing that he doesn't have is, I won't go as far as saying talent. I'm not going to do that. But he just doesn't have the chutzpah. He doesn't have what it takes to be that guy that is going to reclaim any title or to showcase his ability the way he once did. It's not happening. He had a lot of things outside of the octagon, as you know, and he even talked about it in recent interviews, how he had to grow up, how he was immature, how the entitlement, and I'm paraphrasing, how that took over him and just being the rock star that he was. And all right, fine. And here's the one thing, and I didn't watch it live, but I did see a replay of it. But what was he thinking? Knowing that he's been around the block several times, and I get it. He's pumped up. He's jacked up. He wants to show not only the people who paid to watch him fight, but the people who paid to watch the fight. And I don't know where it was it Netflix or whatever? But he comes flying out of the gate to try to go a roundhouse kick. And what does he do? He injures his leg. He's compromised big time. And as you saw, by the time you saw them go into the octagon, you said, wait, I got to go to the bathroom and maybe I'll grab a beer in the process. By the time he got back to sit on the sofa, the match was over. Because he injured his leg, and as I see, he's going to undergo surgery to his right knee. Well, he suffered an injury to his right knee. I don't know what the prognosis was. They haven't disclosed the exact diagnosis of his injury. He intends to undergo surgery and return for the final fight of his UFC contract. So he wrote on Instagram, surgery, prehab, or pre-rehab. It says prehab. I guess that's an error. Return to martial arts practice. Go again. Final fight of the contract. Praise God. I mean, he's 38 years old. Let's face it. His best days are behind him. Who am I to tell him? Now, he's going to fight one more time. I don't know if Dana White's going to, and he probably shouldn't. Because, again, he doesn't have that same attraction that he once did. And he's not the same fighter. He just isn't. And listen, am I wrapped up in his career or thinking that here with the UFC and MMA that he doesn't maybe have another fight or maybe another day in the sun left? Maybe. I guess it depends on who he fights. But listen, I don't know if anybody out there who is either dying a wool or even a guy like me who's pretty much an MMA 101. Obviously, it's not my wheelhouse. But even me, who's watched him over the years and had seen not all of his fights, but some of them. And full disclosure, but come on. We know that Conor McGregor, his best days are behind him. Maybe he fights me in the octagon. Obviously, he's going to have a shot, a big shot. But my point is that if he's going to go up against some of these other guys, unless it's for a payday, whether Dustin Poirier wants to come out of retirement and fight him or whatever, who knows? But I don't know if one more fight on his contract, and after that, if we're going to see him in the UFC, I don't know if Dana White, maybe if the money's right, who knows? But I'm sorry. The guy, I don't want to say he should just go away. He's been on his P's and Q's here over the last couple of years, ever since that incident, I think it was at Barclays Center, where he threw a barricade at the bus, hurt somebody along the process, and then there was all these accounts of alleged, I believe, sexual misconduct or whatever it was. And I know he hadn't been charged, but whatever. And obviously he had to clean up his act. And maybe he was doing that over the last couple of years, which is a lot more important than trying to get an octagon and to get himself back to championship form. But those days, I think, in my eyes, are long gone. I don't know how you guys and gals feel out there. Leave a comment. We'll talk about it. But for McGregor, a minute 9 in, really 9 milliseconds in, to injure himself and then to hobble around and Holloway to pound on him. And then he realized that, hey, I can't pound on this guy. I mean, come on, this guy's injured. And then they had to call the fight. And although it was a TKO, but I mean, really wasn't a TKO. They had to claim some sort of decision. You know, this wasn't a Roberto Duran no mas. And I don't even know, thinking about that against Sugar Ray Leonard, was that deemed a TKO? I'd have to go back and look. Different sport, I get it. But still, but for Conor McGregor, I mean, what more can you say? I just didn't understand why he came out with that kick the way he did, knowing that, come on, don't you have to be a little bit more smart And I get it. You're fired up and you're ready to go and you're just chomping at the bit. Well, look, he injures himself, and obviously we didn't get to see whatever gas he had left in the tank to kind of not only match wits, but also to match strikes and various other techniques in order for him to win this match. And of course, he doomed his own self by injuring himself and obviously being TKO'd the match. All right, comments. I appreciate it. Nancy, I see you. Welcome, Nance. Thank you. Let's see. I know. I'm sure you see that little feature. I'm sure you can see all the comments there. One day that'll be populating further. And let's see. Let's go back to the beginning here. Of course, bio. The novice, my man. Always a pleasure. Cole, I know, is in and out. A.K.A. J-Rod. Mark in the house. All right, here we go. Waffle Iron Walrus, a.k.a. Fuqua Johnson, Minnesota Fats, Tatsuya Mai, Kai Bui Bull, Dad Chips, Rhoda Penmark, Jonathan Sean Cup. We are a human rights violation at this point. Someone needs to get the FBI Congress involved because Mexicans don't like this defense anymore. Waffle Iron, it is a disgrace. There isn't anything I could say that I haven't said already. Yesterday may have been and listen, did it matter? I understand you want to go into the All-Star break with a win. It would have been nice to get a win for Zach Thornton, the lefty. It would have been even nicer to know that Lindor can make a routine play. I mean, and I understand he said the ball ate him up, and a scenario where when you watch it, it wasn't routine, but that's a play you got to make. $34 million a year, I'm sorry. Didn't have to dive to his left or dive to his right, or it took a bad hop. Yeah, it was a hard hit ball at him. And yeah, maybe it ate him up a little bit, but listen, I'm not going to bore you with the Met talk, but listen, Waffle Iron, you're 1,000% correct. The team is 40-57. That's all I got to say. And they better be sellers. You notice how when I talked about the wild card after the Reds, well, up to the Reds, because the Reds are 8 back, and how many games under 500? Come on. You think I'm even going to talk about the Mets? No. Mark. Every All-Star game was when Ken Griffey's in Baltimore with the home run derby. Yeah, I was in 93, hitting the balls off of the warehouse there. Oh, I remember it well. Remember it like it was yesterday. Remember that summer. Remember where I was at. Everything. And I did watch that game. That was also the game where Randy Johnson pitched to John Kruk. And I don't think it was done intentionally, but Johnson sailed one right over his head and Kruk looked back. It was a little byplay by the two, and it was fun. But, yeah, I think it was that All-Star game that happened. Thoughts on the NFL top 10 quarterback list going into the season? I believe it was done by Jeremy Fowler. You know, I actually saw that, the novice, and I didn't look at the list because at first, and you know me, I'm like, here we go. Now we're going to start with a top 10 quarterback list. Are we really going to go there? And I get it. It's summer, not much going on. They got to dredge up something for content. Let me see this. Let's have some fun with this. All right, let's rank the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. Josh Allen at number 1, Caleb Williams on the list. And it is Jeremy Fowler, like you said there, Donavis. Who are the elite quarterbacks in the NFL right now? Which passer ranks number 1? Where do multiple top names from the 2024 draft class land on our top 10 list? Right off the top of my head, I wouldn't put Caleb Williams there. Let's see what they got. Hold on. Do they have it listed like that? All right. I'm going to go from 10 down. Scroll all the way down. Stephon Diggs says there's no wide receiver number 2 in the NFL better than me. That's not saying a lot. I mean, And where did he even sign? Is he still in New England? Did he? I thought he got cut. Well, anyway, quarterbacks. They have honorable mentions. Wow, they put Caleb Williams 10th. And look, honorable mention, Sam Darnold. You see, this list is already garbage. I don't understand this. Jeremy Fowler, you know damn better. How he puts Caleb Williams 10th is beyond me. And I'm not knocking Caleb Williams. And then you see honorable mention, and you look at some of the honorable mentions. Trevor Lawrence, all right, I can see him not being a top 10. Baker Mayfield, same. Brock Purdy, maybe could be in that lower rung. I got to see the rest of the list first, and I could pretty much, off the top of my head, you could do that. Jordan Love, Jaden Daniels, all right, fine. He has Sam Darnold there. You got to be kidding. Do you know what Sam Darnold's done the last 2 years? I understand the 1 year was in Minnesota, but he won 14 games there. He won 14 games last year, beat the Rams, sorry, Bio, not only on that December 18th game, that Thursday night, where they were down, what was it, 30-16, if I'm not mistaken, in the fourth quarter, won the game in overtime with the 2-point conversion, and then beat the Niners the following week to clinch the division, on top of winning the NFC, on top of bludgeoning the Patriots in the Super Bowl. How is that guy not in the top 10? I mean, you throw this list in the garbage. All right, let's look at the rest. I can't believe it. And I'm not saying that to be all about, but come on. If for one game right now, not for your life or whatever, if you're going to have one game, and I understand Caleb Williams can scramble, Caleb Williams has a tremendous arm, whatever, but if you're saying, all right, you're playing a touch football game. I mean, if you want touch football, maybe you want Caleb Williams. But let's be real. If you're going to pick one quarterback to start a game just to win one game right now, who would it be? I'm picking Darnold. I understand Williams has more ability, scramble, throw on the run, great arm, but he's also the same guy that could throw that terrible pass for an interception. As we've seen. Jared Goff 9. Drake May 8. I don't know if I'm putting him that high. Justin Herbert 7. Dak Prescott 6. All right, the top 5 should be easy. If I'm going at the top of my head, they're going to have, well, we saw Allen 1. It's going to be Allen. I see Lamar Jackson 5. So it's going to be Allen, Mahomes, Burrow, and Jalen Hurts. It's got to be. Lamar Jackson 5. Burrow 4. Stafford 3. Wow, and they didn't put Hurts on here. Mahomes 2. I forgot about Stafford. My bad, Bio. I got news for you. This list is terrible. And they're basing it off of last year, and I get it that if they're basing it off of last year and Darnold's not on there, I mean, come on. But I'm sorry, you got to put Jalen Hurts on this list. I take May out. And let's call it as we see it with Drake May. And listen, I don't want to throw any shade on him, but can I see him more than 1 year? Please. And listen, he's a very good quarterback. I think he's elite right now. Is he top 10? No. Oh, well, he got to a Super Bowl. Oh, but he beat all those defenses going to the Super Bowl. Can we rehash that? Houston, they can never get past it. Well, let's go in order. The Chargers, they are pathetic. I'm sorry. I don't care if they're 11-5 or 11-6, 12-5, whatever their record is every year. They are abysmal. And Justin Herbert 7th, I can take him out of the top 10. If you want to argue that. So we can start there. So the Chargers never win a thing as long as they can save their lives. I don't want to hear it, as we saw last year. And they played it against the Patriots. And what did Herbert do in the game? Zilch. I understand it's a top defense, the Chargers. But how many points did they score against them? 17? That's number one. Houston and C.J. Stroud threw 4 interceptions in the first half, or maybe 3 in the first half. He had 1 in the third quarter. Had an atrocious game. And I understand the Texas defense is good, but if the Texans are giving away the ball as if it's late Christmas gifts in January, then I'm sorry. Texas defense out. I don't want to hear it. And then the Broncos, come on, they had that fumble there. What was it? For a punt return? No, was it a punt return or was it a kickoff? Where it set them up for the touchdown. And Drake May had 88 yards passing in the game. And let's not even get to the Super Bowl. You want to look at the final stats, which were cosmetic? What did he do in the first 3 quarters of the game? I think he threw for like 60-something yards. He is not in the top 10 in my eyes. Nope. Out. Here's what I take out of this. Caleb Williams, goodbye. Drake May, goodbye. I'm putting Darnold in. I'm putting Jalen. Jalen Hurts wasn't even an honorable mention. And listen, to me, how I look at it, that's more an indictment on their former offensive coordinator and the head coach. And I understand their offensive line was nicked up also for big parts of the year. And listen, Jalen Hurts, he can't, as I've said a million times, he can't break a pane of glass with his throws. But when their running game is clicking, their passing game is better. Now, I understand you need to have the one element of the offense better in order for the passing to really thrive. But I'm sorry, for one game, are you taking Jalen Hurts or Drake May? Or Caleb Williams? I'm taking Jalen Hurts. Sorry. I'd even take Brock Purdy over Drake May. And you could argue whether or not he belongs in the top 10. Again, lower rung, maybe 9 or 10. Drake May, no. No. Yeah, Jordan Love, no, I wouldn't put him there in the top 10. So let me see. Let me take out. All right, let's start from the top. All right, Allen stays. Mahomes, even with the knee injury, he stays. Stafford is 3. That's fine. Burrow, I'd actually put Lamar over Burrow. And listen, Burrow's great. And we're talking regular season. We're not talking, I understand Lamar in the postseason. I get it 100%. But I'd probably put Lamar over him. Slight edge. But they're top 5. I have no ifs, ands, buts about it. Dak Prescott 6. Dak Prescott. I'd put Darnold 6. Hurts 7. Who's 8, 9, 10? Well, I know Brady is. I'd put Darnold 6, Hurts 7. All right, you want to put Goff 8? I'll do that. Herbert 9. Who's 10th? Who would I put 10th? Oh, I'll put Purdy 10th. That'd be my top 10. And listen, I'm not in love with Purdy either. I mean, but the guy, listen, he took his team to a championship game, took his team to a Super Bowl. Last year, he had all those injuries. And he also missed some games in the middle, too, of the season. But, and listen, Purdy, I'd put him 10th. That'd be my top 10. So, Darnold 6, Hurts 7. I'll put Herbert 8th, or Goff 8th, Herbert 9th, and Brock Purdy 10th. Dak Prescott is on the outside looking in. I understand he puts up big numbers in the regular season, but think about this with the Cowboys. Sometimes a lot of those numbers come in garbage time or when they're trailing by 2 touchdowns, so all they're doing is passing in the fourth quarter. And it's not a knock on him. That's just how the Cowboys, as bad as they were defensively and had to play catch-up a lot of these games, that's where he padded his stats. And Prescott's a good quarterback. He's good. He's not in the top 10. Sorry. And I don't care if he was in the running for MVP a couple of years ago and all that. No. I'm not doing that. Come on. You're going to put Prescott 6 and Darnold as honorable mention? Oh, I would love to get Jeremy Fowler on to discuss this. I would eviscerate him. That's why some of these lists, I mean, who knows? Maybe he's doing it for rage bait, clickbait. Well, I don't even know. But this is an atrocity. And I can't wait to see these comments. Oh, is it terrible? Thoughts on Ohtani's here? Yeah, let me go back to that. Never seen a picture like this. All right, well, Sam, wait, Mark, we say never see a pitcher or player like this who bats and pitches. I mean, if you're going to say never seen a pitcher like this, and listen, this is not a knock on Ohtani, but I mean, have you heard of the aforementioned Randy Johnson or Pedro Martinez or even Justin Verlander listen, Ohtani's tremendous. Is he a GOAT? Listen, he's going in the Hall of Fame on roller skates, that we know. Is he a GOAT? If he wins 2 Cy Youngs, maybe we could have that discussion. He's already won, 4 MVPs? So if he wins a couple Cy Youngs, then maybe we could unpack that. Yeah, he's an all-time great already. But when you say GOAT, I mean, I understand Hank Aaron, Lou Gehrig, Ted Williams. You want to throw in Barry Bonds, you can. They haven't pitched. But, I mean, those guys are immortals. And listen, he's on the verge of becoming an immortal, no doubt. But I don't think he's a GOAT just yet. Yes, indeed. No doubt their bio. I totally agree. What is this? All right. Marcus with his comments. I'm sure you see it in the room anyway, so I have to post it up there. Would like to unthank. Yeah. Oh, you need to tell you, like it says, yeah. Reading more of Mark's comments. Again, you can see it in the room. Yep, Mets lost yesterday. Ay. Mark speaks only 100% facts. Not going down that road again, but let's see what you got here. Mark's probably got 100 more stories that are factual. Waffle doesn't have it. Got a Mike Tyson. What is that? Mike Tyson Peel's Palace? Greg Page? I remember Greg Page. But I'm going to say the Mets. The Mets. All right, here we go. Caleb, maybe Goff. Caleb May, Goff shouldn't be in the top 10. I don't mind Goff being in the top 10 because now listen, I understand last year notwithstanding, but I like Goff as a quarterback. Is he great? No. I think he's very good, and he has to have weapons around him. But Goff has been in 2 championship games. And yeah, I know losing the Commanders at home was bad, and they won 15 games that year, 2 years ago. But I think Goff is in that lower rung of the top 10. What did I pick him? 8th? Or maybe 9th? I think it was. Yeah, because I picked what? Darnold, Hurts, Goff, Herbert. Yeah, so I picked him 8th. I pick him there. Yeah, May, Caleb, no way. No way. Oh, geez. All right. I just read your first part. And I was like, oh, all right. Mark's not getting paid for information. So, information. What information have you brought to the table? Well, it's good to know you're not a fan of the president, Mark. Both sides are crooked. Yeah, I know these top 10 lists. I mean, just like even with the NBA and people, they come out with all these lists and things of that nature. And it's mind-boggling. It really is. Let me see one thing. Hold on. No, that's not what I want to see. Hold on. No, not there. Here we go. Yeah, as I scroll up here, Prescott. He's a true, accurate progression passer. There are only so many of those types. He can read the whole field from pre-goes, and he's really good for end of the offense. He's a good commander of the offense. He throws a ton of interceptions, too. Play by interceptions 15 in 2020. Oh, that was 3 years ago or 4. His 4 seasons with 4,000 passing yards and 30 touchdowns are tied with 6th most behind of all time behind Drew Brees, Manning, Rodgers, Brady, and Phillip Rivers. Yeah, but nobody cares about that. Let me see. As a matter of fact, he did have Jalen Hurts here. On the honorable mention, come on. And also receiving votes, Bo Nix, Daniel Jones, and CJ Stroud, which if you would have put them in the top 10, forget about it. All right. What do we have? McGregor stole the money. Listen, I don't know how much he got paid for the fight, but if McGregor, listen, he's got one more fight left on his contract. Who knows? He's probably going to have to take. Listen, I don't know what happened with his knee. I don't know if it's meniscus. I'm not going to sit here and predict or even speculate what happened, but he's probably going to be out for a considerable amount of time. So you're probably not going to see him at the earliest, the end of the year, maybe even to next year. So, what's this? Youth? What's youth? Elaborate on that, Mark, if you can. Uh-oh, somebody just popped in. Yes, Val, what do you got? Yeah, I think that's it. What else is happening? Nothing else. All is quiet. Yeah, that's it. Nothing else to really chop up or get into. Am I going to get into the Warriors hiring Frank Vogel as associate coach? Yeah, I mean, I could go through all these sports. I know I talked about Stephon Diggs on the best number 2 wide receiver in the NFL. I mean, please. That's NBA. Yeah, I have the Hornets GM talk about the Lonzo Ball deal. John Morant ready to start fresh with the Trailblazers. Wemby signed that extension, $252 million. He tried to pull a Brunson where he could have gotten, I believe, $303 million, but took a $51 million pay cut. Good for him to try to get other players to sign. So Wemby, no shock, gets an extension there from the Spurs. Yeah, I know. Is Bam Adebayo hitting Tyler Hero? What's up with that? Because of comments that he said after the season, Hero, I don't know. Is that news? Yeah, the Ducks matched the offer to Leo Carlson from Philadelphia. He's the highest paid player. 5 years, $90 million. Do the math. Let's see. No, that is. Wait. MLB. Yeah, Red Sox talked about them. All right. Yeah, that is nothing else going on. Men's World Cup, this, that, man. All right. Hey, Chosen, what's going on? Yes. Good afternoon. Greetings. Good to see you on here. All right. How many years does a quarterback get a pass because of upside and potential, not actual wins? I think 1 year is fine. You want to say Mahomes last year? You want to even say what was another guy on that list? Jared Goff. Yeah, because they're still top quarterbacks. They've won, maybe not Super Bowls, but in Goff's case, they've won a bunch of regular season games. Yeah, I'd say those two in particular, but I'd say a year. And that's the thing too, because when you think about quarterback play, I understand that just like in any other sport, it's a what have you done for me lately? So this is part of this list where you see Drake May there. I mean, and Caleb Williams. Well, because the last time we saw, and the thing about it, the last time we saw Caleb Williams, granted, it was a wrong route by DJ Moore, I believe, and a great play by Cameron Curl to get that interception. That was a terrible throw. And that's the thing about Caleb Williams. He has a little Brett Favre in him, where I get it. He's a second-year player at the time. He's going to his third year this year. And you would think he's going to learn from that. But what, automatically I got to put him in the top 10? Same for Drake May. And I get it that Drake May was number 2 in the MVP running last year. But did you see the Patriots schedule, which I didn't at the start of the year because I picked them as an under, and I fell flat on my face with that choice. But they played nobody last year. And now, come to think of it, they have a first-place schedule. I want to see what their schedule is this year. I know they play the Steelers week 3 again, which they did last year in Foxborough. All right, they start off in Seattle, which I hate the game, as you know, guys know. Oh, they play week 2 Pittsburgh. That's right, because of the bye. They had the mini bye. Host Pittsburgh, because last year they played week 3. Oh, no, they were 2-1 Pittsburgh. They won that game last year. Yeah, because they beat the Jets, then they lost to Seattle week 2, and then they beat New England. Pittsburgh, that is. And then New England last year, they lost to the Raiders week 1 inexplicably. I forgot they beat week 2, and then they lost to the Steelers week 3. This year, they play in week 2. So you got at Seattle. To me, that's going to be a loss. Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh plays Atlanta week 1. We'll give them a win. At Jacksonville, at Buffalo. I'm surprised that game's that should be a Sunday night game. New England at Buffalo. It's a 1 o'clock game. And that's in a new stadium. Vegas at home again. Jets at Chicago. At Miami. 1, 2, 3, 4. Man, these first 8 games are, I mean, they're going to be 5-3 at worst. Maybe 6-2. I know the game's in Buffalo, but look, at Seattle, that's a loss. At Chicago, not a lock, but could be a loss. At Buffalo, and in the other games, Pittsburgh, not a lock or shoo-in, but still. At Jacksonville, it's going to be 1,000 degrees, but who knows? Buffalo. Then they host Green Bay. Then Detroit. Where is that game? Why is there an asterisk? Is that the 9:30? Is that a London game? But wait a minute. How is that a? Oh, that's a home game for Detroit, though. That's why. It's a home game for Detroit. It's probably a London or one of those games overseas, which I hate. Then Chargers, Buffalo, Minnesota, at KC, at the Jets, Denver, Miami. Yeah, the schedule is a little bit trickier. It goes without saying. NFC North. Yeah, at KC. And they play. Wait, hold on a second. The other division. Oh, they play the what's it called? They play the NFC West. Yeah, at Seattle, at the Chargers, Vegas, Kansas City. Or at the Chargers, at Kansas City, Vegas, and the. Wait, am I reading this wrong? And Denver, that's what it was. Yeah, trickier schedule. But obviously, we're not going to go through over-unders here at this point. But what do we got? He was injured before he entered the octagon? Were there any reports about that? Yeah, I don't know if that was the case there. Let me see. Yeah, appeared to suffer an injury in his right knee or to his right knee in the opening seconds of his welterweight bout against Holloway Saturday, who's making his first appearance in 5 years. Is not to close the exact diagnosis, which we know. before UFC 329, McGregor, who turns 30 on Tuesday, expressed a desire to return to regular activity. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Torn ACL in 2013, ironically, during his first clash with Holloway when they both fought at featherweight. A partially torn ACL ahead of his interim title fight against Chad Mendes. Broken left leg during his first round loss to Dustin Poirier. So, yeah, it doesn't say that. I don't know about that, Mark. I haven't heard anything as far as that goes. On your topic, the England game was iffy. Are you talking about the call with the ball striking the cable? Conor makes more money not doing UFC. What? Promoting whiskey brands and things of that nature? I'm sure he's got endorsement deals up the wazoo, but I really don't follow soccer, but my brother moved to England for various reasons and got me involved. Well, that's good. The dude from Norway. And flopping. Yeah, I know. I hate the flopping too. No, I'm totally with you on that. Chosen. I'm with you on QBs. 1, maybe 2 years stops before you move forward. There's a lot. Yeah, a lot of owners do that. Okay. Mark, tell us how you really feel. Why does the GM on the Mets still have a job, and what's your take on the Giants coming here? No, that's all right. Chosen, I appreciate that. Why is the GM on the Mets still have a job? Well, I talked about that several podcasts ago. I said he should be long gone. I know there's a lot of Met fans that I know. They say that, yes, although his leash should be short moving forward, but I would have sent them packing. But there's others that feel like they want to have continuity in the front office, so they haven't sent them packing. Well, I got news for you. Now he's going to be graded on these next 3 weeks because they need to sell. Say goodbye to Freddie Peralta. Say goodbye to Luis Roberts. Say goodbye to Jorge Polanco. Say goodbye to whomever. I don't care who it is. Bring up Ryan Clifford. What has Ryan Clifford done in minor leagues? Let him play first base. For the Mets, and away we go. Watch, he's probably batting 150. No, we don't want this. Get this out of here. Well, I was close. Batting 196. 16 homers, 47 RBI. Yeah, he's not ready for prime time. Not to say he had it at 350, but yeah, low average power. All right, so yeah, I can see why that's the case. But yeah, he shouldn't have a job. And what's my take on the Giants this coming year? I think the Giants will be improved. I'm not in love with Harbaugh, but that's a move that they had to make. Jackson Dart, he's got to be smart. Can't go in like a bowling ball against defenders. I don't know what's up with Malik Neighbors and his injury, recovering nicely. Will he be ready? I don't know. Week 3, week 4, if not for week 1. That we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I think the Giants will be better than last year. At least so you think. Oh, so I think. I freaking hate the 9:30 London games. Yeah, I can't stand those games either. The Steelers had one last year, and they're going to have another one this year when they play the Saints in, I think it's in Paris. The game last year was against Minnesota. And, yeah, I'm not in love with those games. I agree. You're one of them. Clifford, yeah. Obviously, based on his power numbers seem to be okay. That batting average is atrocious. No ifs, ands, buts, babies about that. So, yeah, who knows? Maybe the Mets would possibly give up on him if that's the case. But I listen, young player. I don't know. Is he a butcher at first too? If he's a butcher at first and he's a Rob Deere, Dave Kingman type, then maybe that would be the best case scenario. But all right, yeah. So that's what we got there with the football. Anything else? Yeah, that's about it, I think. Yeah, that's just about does it. There's nothing else to really get into. New chapter in the 9-year saga of Colin McGregor's free fall. Andreas. Well, we're pronouncing this right. Andreas Hale, or is it Hale? I don't even know. It's the writer for this article on ESPN. All right, let me stop whispering and keep it moving here. Mark, not in love with Minnesota. Why is a GM on the Mets? Oh, wait, I already read that. My bad. Oh, and last but not least, Clifford, yeah. Not good. Right. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah, anything else there, guys, gals? Let me know what's on your mind. If not, I may start to land this plane. Yeah, that's it. I know I haven't got to WNBA stuff, but All right, so let me just do one thing here. Yeah, let me do my quick closing. Do that, but I'll get your comments. So please, if you have anything that's on your mind, anything you want to share, thoughts, questions, comments, agree, disagree, please do so. That'll do it. Another episode just about in the books. As always, thank you so much for stopping by, carving out precious time out of your day to listen to what it is I have to say about the toy department of life called sports. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to the channel. It'll go a long and great way to increase the visibility of this channel with all the others that are out there. True, passionate sports talk. None of this clickbait, rage bait garbage. I can promise you that. So if you hit that subscribe button, as well as on Apple, Spotify, podcast, or wherever you get your podcast, throw me a few stars, write a review. Again, I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want to hit me up with any questions, comments, suggestions, you can do so at the following: Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, the J Reels Podcast, or just J Reels on Instagram. Twitter, JReels1, just the number. Twitch, JReels1, just the number. Or the old-fashioned way, the JReelsPodcast at gmail.com. I'll be more than happy to follow up with you guys and gals, because whether you do or do not know, this is what I love to do, people. In the blood, as a full-time podcaster, content creator, sports personality, whatever you want to call me, it's in the blood, in the DNA. Talking sports since birth. That's all right, Chosen. I'll get your comments in a second. Hang tight. So, as long as I'm in front of this microphone and camera, I promise I'll deliver nothing but passion, fire, energy, fury, my thoughts, opinions, critiques, praise, analysis, feelings on anything and everything that happens on the world of the diamond, ice, gridiron, hardwood, golf course, racetrack, tennis court, boxing ring, octagon, you name it. From my lips to your ears, from my heart to your soul, from where I am to wherever you are, the J Reels Podcast always comes correct, direct, and in full effect. From the South Bronx, the South Beach, the South Central, the South Pacific, and all points beyond. Peace, love, and God bless everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. I'll see you Wednesday right here, high noon Eastern time, to chop it up on anything that's happening in sports. Until next time on the J Reels Podcast, on the flip, baby. All right, Chosen, what do you got? Mets need to sell. Yeah, and the sad part is that the farm system, listen, Benj is a player. Ewing is a player. And a lot of that farm system we've already seen. Whether your name is Ronnie Mauricio, whether your name is Brett Beatty, whether your name is Mark Vientos, whether your name is Francisco Alvarez. And Alvarez in 2021 was the number one ranked prospect in baseball. And after in 2022, when he hit 25 home runs, you thought, all right, maybe this is our guy. We don't have to worry about any backstops. No more the James McCanns of the world or prior to that, the John Bucks. Oh, forget it. But Yeah, he's either injured or he just hasn't learned the strike zone. I know he's still a young player, but come on, when are you going to get cracking on that? No doubt they're chosen. I appreciate that. Everyone step and smash like, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for that, chosen. I appreciate that. You know it. And yeah, hit me up, man. Definitely. Here we go. Yes, I will. I will be there Friday afternoon. I'll even try to do a live. Now, it's tricky with the lives because when I went to Yankee Stadium for opening day, that was tough because there's so many people there. Everybody's on their phone. And my signal, you can't get Wi-Fi. My signal was at 5G. It wasn't 5G plus or whatever. But I'm going to try to do my best to do a live out there. But yes, I am going to. Oh, thank you, Chosen. I appreciate that. But yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to try to get a lot of Dodger fans, especially from LA. Yes, absolutely. I'm definitely going to do that. I want to take the temperature of what they feel. Are they going to have their chest puffed out? Are they going to be, whatever. And if they do, that's fine. I mean, I'm not going to. What am I going to say? If anything, I'm rooting hard for you guys this weekend. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And I want to go Friday because that's the first game. I'm sure a lot of people probably get Saturday. Maybe there's people from LA coming in on Friday. Who knows? But I'm sure you're going to get a lot of people. Maybe they come in Thursday as they take a long weekend. Come Thursday, Friday, Saturday, maybe leave Sunday. Who knows? But yeah, I'll be all over that. You think the home run derby will be over at 8 p.m.? I know you said it's starting at 7. No, I think they're probably starting at 7 because they probably dragged us out till 11. And I think the rules are still the same where you get the outs. So whatever you don't, no, was it the outs? No, it used to be the outs. I think it's by time. So you get what, like 4 minutes? I forgot because again, I'm not following this on a year in, year out basis. Yeah, the outs, I think it took longer than the clock because the players start getting in that groove and they start hitting them out. But let's say they start fouling them off or they are not getting the barrel on the ball, so they call timeout and then they regroup and then they go. I like that better. But yeah, I don't know. I think they're starting it earlier. And who knows? Starting at 7, but is it going to start at 7:30? 7:45? I don't know. Wait a minute. Mark, if you're referring to what I said earlier when you said Ohtani's the GOAT, and you said all mentioned suck that batting, so you're saying that Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Hank Aaron, Barry Bonds, although you want to put an asterisk next to Bonds, okay. But you can talk Mark's straight facts 100 times out of 100. Please. You can Hal Morris me all you want. If that's what you're referring to, forget it. Then I don't even know what to say to that. He was in 2020. Yeah, he was. I know. Thumbs and all types of injuries. I tell you. 100%, yes. Ohtani will pitch Friday. Well, he is out, right? I know he's not going to pitch in the All-Star game. That'd be great if he pitches Friday. Because then the Dodgers, I think, is it a day off before Philadelphia Monday? Or let me look that up. Is it Monday or Thursday? Because we all know that Dodgers schedule is Yankees, Philly, and then the Mets, which they're going to murder the Mets. No, so it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, no shock there. And then they go to Philly for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So their off day is Thursday, which I believe they're going to go to the White House. And I know Mookie Betts is backed out, and I think Kike Hernandez is backed out. So, yeah, you have a scenario where they're going to go to the White House Thursday. And then they'll come back to New York Friday, Saturday, and Sunday afternoon. And then the Yankee games are Friday night, which I believe is probably Apple TV. Saturday night, which is probably going to be Fox, and that's at 8:08. And then Sunday, 7:20, which that's going to be your NBC game. So there you have it. Let me see. I believe that off day, 23rd. Is that when they're going to go? When are the Dodgers? Yeah, it has to be on a day off. Yeah, 23rd. I wonder if there are any other players that are going to step down and not go. All right, well, obviously keep that in mind as we move it along. Oh, Raw starts at 8. And Raw's on what? Is Raw still on USA? I don't even know. $41 wins. Yeah, poor Giants. Treating Mark like Jan Brady? Okay. Jan Brady, what are you talking about? What, because I made the comment of what you just said? Yeah, Home Run Derby's on Netflix, that's for sure. I was going to say yesterday, Warriors, my team, go Dub Nation. Yes. We know you love the Dubs. Jay, who's your team in baseball? I don't know your teams across the board. I can give you them across the board if you wish. Baseball, New York Mets. And I live in the Bronx. Go figure. It's so freaking hot in this building. Where are you at, Cole? Don't tell me you're in the hospital again. What is this? 0. Mark's comments mean nothing. Well, when you make a comment, Mark, if you're referring to this is why I want you to confirm it. I probably have to scroll down and catch up. I understand. We said all mentions sucked at batting. When I talked about, well, you talked about Ohtani being the GOAT and me saying, yeah, we have Ruth, Gehrig. I didn't even throw DiMaggio or Mantle. Williams, Mays, Aaron. I mean, that's a tough list to top. All trash. Glad you agree. Yeah. What's this? Bobby, welcome to the club. Mark Blockman got killed. Oh, jeez. 49ers, my team. Yeah, you do need to be healthier, and you need your quarterback. That's all there is to it. I'm a Mets fan. Some of the best to ever do it. Yep. All right. Netflix. Does Mark have permission to use this content? Not that it's okay. It's I need to be asked. Permission in what way? What are we doing here? I'm curious, Mark. At a sports complex, I'll send you pictures. Lots of fun stuff. Oh, okay. Getting a workout in, taking some swings. I'm curious. Oh, is that right? Now, I was born in Manhattan, but raised in the Bronx. So, yeah, we definitely have to talk. I'm with that. Bio. Well, yep. I agree. 100%. Low blows get low blows. Why? Am I throwing low blows to say that Lou Gehrig is not a better baseball player than Shohei Ohtani? I mean, I don't know. If you're saying Ohtani's the GOAT. And I've gone through the numbers with Lou Gehrig in the past and Babe Ruth and all that. But also 2,130 consecutive games, which has been eclipsed by Cal Ripken, as everybody knows. Yes, that's what I wanted to do. Henry Louis Gehrig, I should say. Let's see. Stats. All right. Let's switch this. Yeah, I'm looking at Gehrig's numbers. I mean, come on. Now, listen, if you want to match Ohtani's numbers to Gehrig's numbers, and I get it that Ohtani's still playing. I mean, Gehrig's numbers are just, they're off the charts. You know how much black type is by his name? And it's not to say Ohtani doesn't have black type. And bio, obviously, this isn't towards your player, your team, etc. But if Mark's going to come out, and I understand this is Mark's ploy to get me rage bait. And I didn't even bring up Ruth, who pitched also in 190 some odd games, I believe, as a career pitcher. But 1, 2, 3, 4. Led in runs 4 times, hits once, but he's had 200 hits 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. 200 hits. Led in doubles twice, led in triples once. Home runs 3 times. RBIs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And then you got batting average, slugging, OPS. I mean, yeah, the numbers are ridiculous. I mean, it just, did he win the MVP this year? He better have. Let me see. I think he came in second that year. I may have shared this once upon a time. I feel like I'm having a deja vu. I'm going to read these numbers off to you. May I for a second? 1931. Now, they calculate WAR now as to back then. This WAR is 8.6, which you know I'm not into WAR. But led the league in plate appearances, runs, hits, home runs, RBIs, and was second in the MVP. Who was first? If I had to take a guess, I'm going to say Hank Greenberg. Oh, Lefty Grove. Wow. Lefty Grove. Yeah, Lefty Grove was 31-4 with a 2.06 ERA. 288 innings pitched. Only struck out 175. All right, so Lefty Grove it was. But Gehrig, in that 1931 year, had 738 plate appearances, 163 runs scored, 211 hits, 31 doubles, 15 triples, 46 homers, 185 RBIs. He batted .341, 446 on base, 662 slugging for an 1108 OPS, which did not lead the league in those 3 categories. And here's the one that'll make you fall out of your chair. And this is why when we talk about offensive players in the sport, and Gehrig, everybody thinks of Ruth, everybody thinks of Ted Williams, and I'm not a Yankee fan. Everybody knows that. But here's the one number out of all of them that really sticks out the most. In 738 plate appearances, he walked 117 times. Wow, great eye. That's why his on base was 446. You know how many times he struck out? You probably think, I don't know what. A lot of players didn't strike out 100 times, but he struck out 90 times, 85. All right, maybe 75, right? 56 times. 56. Need I say more? Short. Name 4 core teams: Mets, now football, basketball, hockey. Yeah, so it's Mets, Steelers, football. Growing up in the Bronx, if you're wondering, growing up in the Bronx in the 70s, Jets and Giants were terrible. Most of the people on my block, you're either a Steeler fan or a Cowboy fan. I jumped on the Steelers and have been a Steeler fan ever since. But hockey's the Islanders. I'm an Islander fan, huge. Basketball, I'm a Celtic fan. Why am I a Celtic fan? Second basketball game I ever went to, late 70s, Celtics, Knicks, John Havlicek farewell. And my cousin, who is my age and also was a huge Celtic fan then, and we were what, 78? I just turned 9. And he was 8 and loved the Celtics. And ever since then, I've been a Celtic fan. That was before Bird, 2 years before Bird, because he was drafted before 79, 80. And that was 77, 78. So, and I became a Celtic fan, stuck with him ever since. And I don't have a college football team, although Cole is trying to turn me into a Michigan fan. But college basketball, I love Georgetown. Krebs, back. Oh, yeah. Peyton Krebs. Sabres. Baseball is so different. In what way? Oh, then when Ruth. Listen, it is different now. And Mark, how are you undefeated after that last comment? You mean to tell me Lou Gehrig? Please, if you had to put a top 10 in baseball players of all time, does Ohtani even make that list? If he makes it, it's a bottom, it's 9th or 10th, at least right now. And we got to wait for his career to end. And again, I love Ohtani. I think Ohtani's fantastic. He's great for the sport, great for baseball, etc. But, and I understand you got to go back Rogers Hornsby and, and I mean, dead ball era. Or if you want to start, from 1930 on? I mean, think about it. You could have top 5 prior to 1930. Ty Cobb, Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Rogers Hornsby, Honus Wagner. I didn't even throw him in there. That's 5. Jimmy Fox, 6. Hank Greenberg was afterwards. He was in the 30s and the 40s, I believe. I mean, that's 6 guys right there. Yeah, you're talking about. Now, again, people know Rogers Hornsby, but I don't know. All right, Mark, what are you saying here? Still undefeated. Mark will step away for a while unless you call him back in. Hey, stick around, Mark. Why are you leaving? Ralph Kiner, Harmon Killebrew. The thing is, Kiner played on terrible teams, Pirates, Cubs, a huge home run hitter. And Killebrew, another one, great home run hitter. And was on mostly bad teams. I know he went to World Series in 65 when he lost to the Dodgers. No, but Killebrew was a slugger. What did he end up with? 583 career home runs? Let's look that up. All right. Killebrew. Look at these numbers. Harmon Killebrew. Now, listen, lifetime hitter, it wasn't a great hitter, but you want to talk about a bona fide prototypical slugger? 256 for his career. The most he batted in a season was a full season, because I see he played 9 games. He batted 290. 288. 61. 46, 122, 288. He led the league in home runs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. He hit 40 home runs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. 30 or more 10 times. Led in RBIs 3 times. 1 year in 69 was 49, 140, 276. Led in slugging. Did he ever win an MVP? I don't think he did. No, he did. Oh, that 49, 140 year. Yeah. And listen, the guy was a tremendous home run hitter. I mean, 5'8". Oh, he hit 573 at 35, 83. 573, 1584 RBIs. Obviously, he's a Hall of Famer. Yeah, I love the old-time baseball. Mark knows little about Lou, but knows Lou disease is bad, yes. Because I support fiction over facts, all right. Sounds like George Foster. Wait, comparing Lou Gehrig to George Foster? Foster had the one great year in 77. Off the top of my head, I think it was 77. He was 52, 149 and batted 320, but did not win a triple crown. 320 when I was 77. Dave Parker was the MVP in 78, and I think led the league in hitting in 78. Let's go George Foster. Foster came to the Mets and was a disaster. Remember that? Oh, I never forget that. 81. Here's Foster's 77. I believe it was the MVP. He had to be the MVP that year. Yeah. And look at that. And 3 straight years, he led the league in RBIs, 76, 77, 78. And in back-to-back years, he led in home runs and RBIs, 52, 149, 40, 120. Yeah, that 77 year, that was one of the great offensive years of all time. But it gets unnoticed because they didn't win. Because remember, that was after they won the 2 years, 75, 76. And they didn't even win the division. The Dodgers won because they played the Phillies that year in the championship series. Remember, no wild card. He led the league in runs, home runs, RBIs, slugging, and OPS, and total bases. I mean, that's one of the great offensive years of all time. But it gets forgotten. Who led in batting that year? I'll look that up. Who led the NL in batting? If I had to guess, let me think. Was it Bill Madlock? I don't think it was. Yeah, obviously Carew was in the other league. Bill Madlock, Dave Parker. Heath Hernandez batted 344, but I was in 79 when he was co-MVP with Stargell. Now let's just go. Dave Parker. And he won the MVP the following year. He batted 338 that year, 77. Imagine if Ichiro Suzuki came to the MLB early like him. Oh. And funny enough, when did he come at year 28, I think it was? Or maybe 27. Let's look that up. And he still got 3,000 hits. That's a good one there, the novice. He was 27 when he came in. And he was Rookie of the Year and MVP that year. Yeah, all the black type by him is hits and at-bats. And he did bat. Oh, he got 2 batting titles, too. I got to give that up. Including the year when he got the most hits in Major League Baseball history in 1 year. I mean, Ichiro, and I get it. Ichiro was a singles hitter. Led the league in hits 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, including 5 straight. Had 200 hits 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He had 200 hits in his first 10 years in the league. I mean, that's still dominant. And two batting titles. Lifetime 311 hitter. I mean, look at these averages. 350 in his rookie year. 321, 312, 372, 303, 322, 351, 310, 352, 315, and then he fell off big time. In his first 10 years, he was dominant. After that, he fell off. Remember, he bounced around, went to the Yankees, Marlins. Yeah, because after that, then it was 272, 283, 361. He did bat 322, but he played 67 games for the Yankees. Well, no, he was tremendous. Very good right fielder, had a cannon for an arm. That's a good one, Donavis. I like that. The stat that Ohtani will be behind his RBIs. He doesn't get a lot of RBI too. Right. Yeah. Yeah, let's look at Ohtani right now. Ohtani. No, we don't want that. Get this out of here. Yeah, the thing about Ohtani, between the on-base slugging, OPS, I mean, forget about it. Yeah, runs scored. Led the league in home runs twice, triples once, RBIs once. 2024 when he won the MVP, and that was who had the better average that year? Because he batted 310. Let me think. It's just 2 years ago. San Diego. Yeah, nobody on the Mets. Who led the league in batting in 2024? Off the top of my head, it's not ringing a bell. I don't know. I don't know. All right, let me just see. Yeah, Ohtani, 302, 727, 282. What's his pitching right now? Career pitching, 47 and 22, 2.83 ERA. He's 8-2 this year with a 1.79 ERA. See, the problem is that he has two guys in his league, unless they fall apart down the stretch, who are also in competition. It's Christopher Sanchez and Jacob Mizorowski. He definitely has a shot to Cy Young, though. But with the Mets, that's for sure. Ended in the name 90s. Tony Baby, you want to add someone even? Yeah, and the game changed after that, too, because when you got to, I'd say definitely by the 2010s, because everything was launch angle and exit velo and all this garbage, that the sport and these organizations, they're trying to produce their version of today's baseball player. And it's a farce, because guys like Ichiro, or even a guy like Luis Ariz, who's won batting titles, I'd like to see more guys like that bat 330, 340, etc. Who wants to see a guy win a batting title at 301? And I understand there are not a lot of Tony Gwynns and Wade Boggs and George Bretts and Rod Carews, guys who hit for a high average. I mean, I've talked about it several times. Carews, an 8-time batting champ. 8. Gwynn, 7. Boggs, I think he's probably won, 4 or 5. Those guys baseball don't want players like that anymore. They want power guys, they want home run guys, and that's it. It's terrible. He was a bench player by that time. Oh, really? He must have did that for the Mets then, I would assume. Because I know we're roughly the same age. I believe I'm a little bit older than you, Chosen. Parker was younger than George. Oh, yeah, he was. Really fell on number of the downs. Bill got traded. Yeah, Madlock was a great hitter, too. Bill Madlock. I think he's won 4 batting titles. Played with the Cubs, Pirates, mostly the Pirates. He was part of that 79 team. Played a long time. Oh, he's with the Giants, too. That's right. Oh, he played on more teams than I thought. Wow. Madlock, 354, 339, 341, 323. And 323 was 83. 341 was 81. I mean, the guy was a right-handed hitter, had that short, compact swing. Not a Hall of Famer, not an all-timer, even though he got the 4 batting titles. When you look at his career numbers, 163 home runs, 860 RBIs, 305 lifetime, 2008 hits. And I'm sorry, I don't care. Even if you're the Veterans Committee, now, he's done more in his career, I think, than Harold Baines. But listen, Madlock is not a Hall of Fame player. In fact, the highest he got MVP was 6th in 76 when he was with the Cubs. But he was a tremendous hitter. I mean, there's no doubt about that. For a man his stature, each out of can for it. Yes, he did. Yeah, Luis Ariz. Yeah, good one. No, Ariz is good. But he's the only guy, and I know he's won batting titles in both leagues, Minnesota and Miami. I don't know if he's won another one after that, though. I don't think he had. Oh, he may be a 3-time batting champ. Let's see. He may have won twice with the Twins. In fact, that's right. Oh, no, hold on a second. Yeah, he won 3 straight batting titles, 316 and 22 for Minnesota, 354 for the Marlins, and then in 24, he split the year with 2 teams. He played 33 games for the Marlins. I remember he got traded to San Diego early in the year. Maybe it was like late April. But they count that because he did win a batting title, 314. No, he's an excellent hitter. No one's going to take that away from him. And this year, what's he batting? San Francisco, 91 games, batting 330. But I think Otto Lopez, the kid in Miami, he's leading the league in batting. Just a guess. He's done a few times. It could be Jeff McNeil. Yeah, McNeil won in 2022, did he not? Second Met player to win a batting title. Anybody know who the first one is? Hint, played shortstop. Not too long ago. Hal Morris. No, it's not Mr. Morris. I hate most sports because of the extra trash like launch angle. I agree with you. Let's not forget how it's all about. Oh, no, we can't forget about it's all about the money. But yeah, sadly, the analytics have destroyed the game, in my eyes. And that goes for all sports. The three-point shot in the NBA, the coaching decision-making when it comes, or the coach's decision-making when it comes to two-point conversions and, oh, my God, going for 4th downs is awful. Ugh. Terrible. All right, let's see. Yeah, other than that, people, I think that is it. I think that will do it. Let me just see sports-wise. Yeah, that's it. Where is she? Oh, it's back there. Yeah, just checking to see. I think that'll do it, my good peeps. Val with the wave. So pitchers don't go more than 6 innings. I think they're trying to replicate the 90s. If he was our second hitter, yeah. And yeah, you are correct, Jose Reyes. Very good, Chosen. Yeah, it's a shame that starting pitchers do not go more than 6. Yeah, and here's the thing, real quick with pitching. So you can have your top starter be in the game, but because of pitch counts and stressful pitches, if you want to call it, those 2 things factor in, arguably, having your best, not even just pitcher, best player, not play the whole game because they have to be economical with the pitches. And I understand that big-time investments, you don't want to ruin their arms, etc. But why wasn't that the case 40, 50 years ago? Could somebody explain that? And I understand back then you still had fastball, curveball, slider, fork balls they were throwing, the split finger, Roger Craig. But you didn't have a ton of Tommy John. But I think a lot of it has to do with the mechanics of the pitcher because, and not only that, but the way they're teaching these kids. They want these kids to throw through a brick wall, and they're not teaching them pitching, location, using their lower half, their trunk, or at least building it up to the point where you're not putting stress on your elbow or your shoulder for that matter, where you're using your legs. Just ask Tom Seaver, ask Randy Johnson. And I understand Randy Johnson was built like a beanpole, but he had those long legs and the big strides to get that ball to the plate. All right, steroids or no steroids, Roger Clemens was another one. So, yeah. I've been with you on all this. I know he definitely ruined the game. Yep. Yeah. Bullseye, chosen. Couldn't have said any better. It's a disgrace. It is literally a disgrace how the sport, which I love and will always love, has been. Now, I understand they made the tweaks to shorten the game or to speed up the game and no shift, throws to first, all that. But these minor league systems and even the front offices, they're just so enamored with the data. And I get it. Does the data play a part in any sport? Of course. But to me, the data should be more on, this guy lifetime against this pitcher is 0 for 30. We're not going to play him, even if his name is Aaron Judge. Of course, Judge would still be in there regardless, but you understand what I'm saying. But between that and, he's terrible against lefties, and, the launch angle and the exit velo against this type of pitcher, nonsense. If a guy just came off of a series where he went 6 for 12 with 3 home runs and 9 RBIs, and then coming out of that series to the next game, they got to go up against a tough lefty, let's say it's Tarek Skubal. Oh, well, we can't put him in there because he's going up against the lefty. The guy just wrecked 3 days of pitching, and I don't care if it was the 3, 4, and 5 starters. You know what? He's hot. Leave him in there. But they don't do it. So that's baseball 2026 for you. Yeah, they're commodities, not players. And their investments, and I know. It is terrible, Chosen. I agree. All right, nothing else going on. So you know what? I'm going to sign off. I know I already gave my sign off earlier, but Wednesday, 12 noon Eastern time, right here on the channel. I'll get your comment there in a second, Chosen. Hope to see you guys there and gals. A lot cooking, lots happening, as you know. Make sure to have it all cooked up and served for you on a platinum, not silver, platinum platter. And before I close out, it's been watered down, softened. Yeah, hockey, definitely not. Hockey is a different beast. And I understand it's entertainment. It's a form of entertainment, but you would still like to think that despite it all, there's still some purity. There is integrity, but just purity, where it just is not based on the iPad, just the eye test. That's it. Yes, we do, sir. The same language. That's why other like-minded individuals like you and I, like Bio, like Mark, like the novice, like Val, like J-Rod or Cole, shout out to Fishing Angel, Toppers, my guy Victor E. out in the West Coast, and a few others who right now join blanks that hop on board from time to time. Drew's Gems, Vladislav Popovic, can't forget him, in Serbia, and shout out to his mom, Mirjana. And if I'm forgetting a couple, Matt Noah, can't forget him too. They already know. Thoughts on how Scott Erickson got off the hook? I appreciate that, Chosen. Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you. Truly appreciate that. How Scott Erickson got off the hook? Wow, what happened to him? Former Twin pitcher, also pitched for the Mets for a hot minute. Did he not pitch for the Yankees? I think he pitched for the Yankees for a cup of coffee, too. What happened to Scott Erickson? Wait, he pitched for the Twins, pitched for the Orioles, too. Yeah, he also pitched for the Dodgers, Rangers. I didn't realize he bounced around that much. Listen, I know Erickson's not a Hall of Famer, but I'm just looking up his numbers. Yeah, he had that great 91. Yeah, he won 20 games. And then after that was it. It's pretty much a 500 pitcher the rest of his career. Maybe even under 500, 20 and 8. Did he not win 91? Did he not win a Cy Young that year? '91, second in Cy Young. So let me think about that. 91. That may have been the second. No, hold on. 91. Pat Henkin was 96. Let me think. 91. Was in a World Series that year. It was the Twins. As I'm pondering, who the hell won the Cy Young in 91? Was that Clemens that year? 91. I mean, it could have been Clemens down. No, Clemens down years was later on with Boston. I'm going to say Clemens. Clemens did win 7 Cy Youngs and 4. No. I think he won 3 with the Red Sox. All right, here we go. Let's find out. Who else? Who else? And let me see. He won 3 with the Red Sox? I know 86 he won an MVP too. So he won Cy Young. Oh, hey, you got to switch this to the widescreen. He won 86, 87, 91, 3 with the Red Sox. I know he won the 2 in Toronto back-to-back years, the only 2 years when he went there. And then he won 1 with the Yankees. And then did he win 1 with Houston? He did win 1 with Houston. 7 Cy Youngs. It's a shame. I mean, the guy's a Hall of Famer. I mean, come on. But the steroids. Yeah. Anyway. All right. What happened to him on the road? Oh, what happened to who on the road? Scott Erickson? Decent pitcher, different question. Oh, is that right? Why did I remember that story? Not until they put a cap on it. Will it change? Not to see it. Yeah, exactly. May not see baseball next year. We know that for sure. Erickson. Oh. Yeah, I thought I saw something there. Drag racing. Drag. What are you talking about there, Mark? You're all over the map. Wait, let me see Erickson, and then I'll sign off after that. Scott Erickson seeks $14 million offset from jury's compensatory. Get this out of here. Oh, I got to subscribe to this, of course. Hold on. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, that's right. He was married to Lisa Guerrero. I had Lisa Guerrero on my old podcast many years ago as a guest. Oh, right. I forgot. Totally forgot that. I wonder what she's up to these days. Anyway. Oh, here it is. Grilled in civil trial over crash that killed 2 young boys. Is currently serving a sentence of 15 years license prison being convicted. All right. Oh, I do remember this now. Yeah. Wow. Interesting. I thought Clemens and a pitcher from the Braves for sure, either Max or Glavine. Well, yeah, in the National League, I think that was the year Glavine won. Yeah, Glavine won that year, and then that was someone else's comment. All right. All right, guys. I'm going to sign off for sure this time. I appreciate you all. You know that. Thanks so much for stopping by. Hope to see you all Wednesday, 12 noon. Until then, I know it's abrupt, but until then, everybody, on the flip. 91 Cy Young. Yes, you are correct.